So today for How Bad Is It? Let's take a look at a team that almost made the playoffs last year. And is this the year? Now, as a fan of the Dallas Stars, I'm going to give you full disclosure. I'm always scared to be optimistic. And I took criticism for it, and probably rightfully so during the season last year, where when they were in a playoff position, I kept saying, I don't trust this defense. I still have concerns about the defense. Now up front, these aren't the lines how they're going to turn out. Faxa is not a second line center. That's my biggest problem looking at this board. And Spezza is not a second line center anymore either. So whether they decide to move somebody to the middle or whatever they do, there's still some weakness up front. Ben, Sagan, Radulov. Fantastic line, one of the best lines in the league. Fantastic, but there was nothing behind it last year. So they'd move Radulov off the line, they'd move Sagan, they'd move whoever, and it didn't matter. You could still only get one line going at a time. And this was a problem. Now when you look at their left side, whether it's Ben, Janmark, Como, Ely, Dickinson, Hintz, Misharin, I've got Misharin on the board because he was drafted by Florida, didn't sign with Florida, and now he was drafted and signed with Dallas. Maybe Jim Nill knows something about Misharin that we don't. So I'll go ahead and throw him on there because he technically can play for them this year. And honestly, while I like Como as an addition, I love Matthias Janmark. Everybody knows that. But do I see him as top six? I'd rather see him on the third line. This, 2/3 of this third line should be a third line, but they're a second because there's nobody bumping them down. Down the middle, you got Sagan, Faxa, Spezza, Devon Shore, and I put Dellandrea. Dellandrea's not playing this year, but he's the best center prospect that I could find. And I'm concerned. Genuinely. The right side, Radulov, Nichushkin, who's returning from the KHL, Pitlick, Ritchie, Jamel Smith, and Gurianov. Jamel Smith, I will praise his entire career. Jamel Smith should be on this fourth line ahead of Ely and ahead of Ritchie. Absolutely. A lot of spirit with that kid. He's fast. He's smart on his skates. Good player. Gurianov, I don't know if he's an NHLer. I watched a few of those games for Texas against the Toronto Marlies. You know, the Marlies won the Calder Cup and everything, and yay. Gurianov did not impress me in that series. But what really this team lacks in this top 12 is just pure skill. Where's the pure skill? It's Radulov, Sagan, and Ben. It might be Nichushkin, but he had a bad year on his way out the door. And I know a lot of Dallas fans are going to say, well, that was because of Lindy Ruff. But Lindy Ruff wasn't giving him the ice time because he wasn't earning it. And as soon as he wasn't getting it, he started pouting about not getting it rather than going out and earning it. Remember, the guys that we like are the guys who go out there and get that third and fourth line time and bust their asses to prove they deserve a top 2 spot. Good example, Ryan Kesler. I couldn't stand Ryan Kesler, sure, a personal level, whatever. But Ryan Kesler, when he was a third or fourth liner in Vancouver, busted his ass to get up into top 6 minutes. This past year, we watched Dubois in Columbus. He starts off kind of slow. They give him very little ice time, but as the year went along, he earned more ice time. Nichushkin is the opposite of that. He got the ice time, and then it got dropped. And then his play dropped. He has to play top 6. Even though in the depth chart I looked at on Roster Resource, they've got Pitlick ahead of Nichushkin. There's no way that happens without Nichushkin starting to rumble and mumble already about going back to the KHL. Lindell, Klingberg, Mathot, Johns, Hetherington, Polak. Of course, you got Heiskanen and Honka. Honka's been rumored to be involved in some kind of a deal for Erik Karlsson. That's been one of the rumors out there. Of course, Karlsson still a member of the Ottawa Senators. And there's been no rumblings about him getting traded for the last week now. It's totally died off. So I'm not betting on Karlsson getting in here. And here's the problem. Here's the problem if you're Dallas. Now, if they can talk Ottawa into giving them Karlsson without throwing in Bobby Ryan. Now, if Bobby Ryan's part of the deal, that drops how much Dallas has to pay. The problem is Dallas doesn't have a ton of cap space to get both of those contracts on board. Considering Karlsson's due for a a bump in his salary. Now, if you think about it, you could have a top 4 if they added Carlsen of Lindell, Klingberg, Mathot, and Carlsen. And we know Mathot and Carlsen can play together, depending on whether or not Mathot's healthy this year. He was not healthy last season, or this past season, and it was rough. It was a rough year for him. That means Heiskanen can drop into the bottom 2. But remember, to get Carlsen, you're going to have to give something up. It might end up being Esa Lindell. Just when I look at it, Johns isn't going to get it done. Hetherington isn't going to get it done. Honka, maybe. But honestly, they want a top 4. And for me, it would be Lindell. Because Klingberg's a non-starter. Rumor has it Dallas has refused Heiskanen his payment. And Mathot, I can't see him going back to Ottawa now if Carlsen's coming from Ottawa. I just can't see him going to Ottawa and not getting a chance to play with Carlsen. If he was being traded to Ottawa and Carlsen wasn't leaving Ottawa, maybe, but I just can't see it. Goaltending is going to be interesting for this team. You have Bishop, you have Hudobin. Bishop had injury issues this past season. And that's... that is not unusual with Ben Bishop at all. Bishop's had injury issues at different points during his career. So Hudobin comes in. He can play a lot of games. Had much better numbers than Kari Lehtonen, who's still waiting for a job at the time of recording this. But my issue with Dallas really is, when you look at it, depth. Do they have the top end talent? Absolutely. Ben and Sagan, absolutely fantastic. Where I think Jim Nill has failed, when I look at the Dallas Stars, is depth. There's some hard workers in here, like Janmark and Faxa. And Faxa is one of my favorite players. But that top-end talent, it's been hard to find. And you got a first-rounder like Dickinson that appears to be kind of in a no-man's land. Should he be bottom 6? Probably not. But is he good enough for top 6? No. Guryanov, kind of the same thing. So where Dallas has kind of failed is building up that depth at the draft table. And while I would love to project Dallas back into the playoffs this year, I really don't know that they're going to get back there. Adding Nichushkin back should help. Nichushkin should be good for, I would say, 20 goals. I am scared to predict more than that. I'm honestly kind of apprehensive about predicting 20. Because his last year in Dallas, he didn't impress me at all. I was quite happy to see him go to the KHL. So we'll see what kind of player he is. But where I'm looking at Dallas right now, I don't know. I don't know that this team can get back to the playoffs. I don't know that Ben and Sagan on their own, with Radulov clearly being the number 3 there. Radulov played excellent last year. I just don't know that that's enough to get them to that playoff spot. This is a team that's going to win their share of games. And if Heiskanen jumps up, and Heiskanen honestly likely jumps up ahead of Johns and gets a top 4 spot. Absolutely. That could be a huge difference maker if Heiskanen, Mathot, Lindell, and Klingberg. But again, if they do make that move for Carlsen, they're going to lose depth. If they add Bobby Ryan, where do you play Bobby Ryan in this lineup? Now you're making your lineup kind of softer and more overpriced. It's a dangerous game Jim Nill's playing with this lineup, and I'm not sure where it's going to go. I'd be interested to know what other Dallas fans think, because there's a lot of names on this board, like Hintz. I want to see Hintz at the NHL level, desperately. I want to see what he can do. And Jamel Smith should be a regular. He shouldn't have to worry about his roster spot at all. Como, it'll be interesting to see what he does. But again, they need that really solid top 6. The Central is so tough. And I don't know that Dallas has figured it out in this offseason. Heiskanen could make a big difference. But is that going to be enough? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And today's How Bad Is It? It's the Dallas Stars. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.